What's going on there, YouTube? And welcome to Fresh Comic Stories. Guys, this is the channel where we basically sit down and cover different kinds of comic book stories. Now, today, guys, we're going to jump back over to DC Comics, and we are going to pick up with the Year One Superman storyline. And guys, we pick up with part 2. And of course, this is written by our boy Frank Miller. Yep, good old Frank Miller. He's back. He's saying, I'm going to write Superman Year One, and we already covered part 1. And so today we are going to cover part 2. And so I really do hope, guys, you enjoyed this video. And if you do, please hit that like button down below and also subscribe for more comic book stories in the near future. But we are going to jump into Superman Year One part 2. Let's go ahead and dive into this very, very crazy story. So after reading part 1, I was really hoping this story would keep me interested, but after reading part 2, man, I'm honestly a little lost on what Frank Miller is doing with this story. But we pick up where our last video left off at, which was Clark Kent joining the Navy. Now, of course, he has to go through base camp first before he is able to do anything. Now, what Frank Miller does for most of this book is really him focusing on Clark Kent at base camp for the Navy. Now, he does get assigned to Salt Lake City for the first place he goes to for training. Of course, when he arrives, he impresses the higher ups very quickly because he's excelling in everything they test him on. And so with him doing well in literally everything, he gets sent to San Diego where he might be able to excel in a different part of the Navy. Of course, the same thing starts to happen again. As soon as he arrives, he is literally excelling in all the stuff they throw at him. You have Clark Kent say he should probably dial it down some so it won't look so obvious with him being different, but he does not. Instead, he just keeps excelling in everything they throw at him. Now, one night while he's out looking into the ocean, he does hear something coming from the ocean. And when he uses his supervision, he does see mermaids in the ocean. But when he is looking, he is greeted by one of his higher-ups, and his name is Kurtzberg, which I know I just butchered that name. But he tells Clark that he's been on this base for a long time, and every once in a while, one of his men hears the mermaids sing, and they go out there to join them. But of course, they end up dead because they drown in the ocean. And so you have Kurtzberg tell Clark to be careful with going into the ocean because he is hearing the mermaids sing. We then jump over to the next night where we pick up with Clark Kent at a bar, but talking to a girl named Shari. And I really hope I pronounce her name correctly, but also really, Shari sounds so close to Shuri. Now, of course, him and this girl do become close at the bar, but then a guy starts to harass her about her going home with him. But of course, she says no, and he cannot take no for an answer. And so you have Clark jump in to protect her, which does start a bar fight on the pier where the bar was at, which when he gets back to base, the Navy heard what happened at the pier, with basically Clark Kent getting in a bar fight. And so with that happening right there, that gets Clark Kent in trouble, and he now has to clean up the bathrooms on the military base. Not just one of them, all of them, because he got into a bar fight. Now, this is where Frank Miller went too far to the left. Well, to me, he did. But after cleaning up the bathrooms, he decided to go out in the ocean to meet the mermaids he heard earlier. And so when he gets out there, he does see one, and her name is Lori. Now, of course, right off the bat, him and Lori just fall in love with each other. But he decided to follow her to wherever she is going, which when he does, he finds Atlantis for the first time. And there is no connection to our boy Aquaman here. It's just him discovering Atlantis for the first time. But when he gets there, he does see that apparently there is a submarine that has crashed into Atlantis. And right now, the people of Atlantis are trying to move it. Which, of course, when Clark swims down, he helps out and he moves the submarine off Atlantis, which the people quickly starts to like him. Now, he does not stay down there with her, even though he did fall in love with Lori, because he has to get back to base before he gets in trouble for being out. Now, you have Frank Miller do his thing with showing us that Clark Kent is still excelling with everything the Navy is throwing at him. Which should not be a surprise to us because, well, he is using his powers, but of course not using his full powers. And after a few more days of Clark Kent showing off his amazing skills, that is when the next night him and a few of his mates get recruited for a mission. Because apparently there is a US ship that has been taken over by a bunch of pirates. And so of course the US Navy has been called in to take care of this issue, but they're going to send in a Black Ops team. This is where Frank Miller decides to make this the downfall for Clark Kent. And what I mean is that when Clark Kent and his team get on the boat, they see the ship crew has been killed off and is completely taken over by these pirates. The big problem though is that when Clark team goes in to kill off these pirates, Clark is trying to find a different way to not kill them off because he does not believe in killing people at all. But the big problem comes when one of the pirates pull out a grenade and his grenade is about to go off, and you have Clark Kent grab a grenade to use his hands as a way to stop the explosion, because Clark Kent is literally the Man of Steel, but also he is trying to protect his teammates. Now you do have Clark Kent try to cover up the explosion to make it seem like it was a false grenade. It did not go off. But the problem is though, his commander saw it. His commander saw the grenade go off in the hands of Clark Kent, and he realized, oh my God, Clark Kent's not normal. This man is different. That grenade went off in his hands and his hands are perfectly fine, which means this man is not human at all. But the commander says he is not going to say anything at all. Now, after their mission and they go back to base, this is where you have the higher ups sit down and discuss what to do with Clark. Because the whole mission, he was disobeying orders. Also because he did start a bar fight earlier in this story. But also when he went out to go visit the mermaids, someone saw him sneaking out at night and told the higher ups. And so it's kind of like, what do we do with you, man? Because on the mission, when we asked you to kill somebody, you disobeyed orders. Like, you kept disobeying us. You're sneaking out at night. You're getting into bar fights. Like, dude, what do we do with you? And so you have the Navy say, we are going to give you an honorable discharge, but you are officially done here. We cannot have someone like you on our roster because right now you're doing too much. And we cannot handle that. And so Clark Kent has been kicked out of the Navy. Now, the thing is, Clark Kent does not go back home. Like, you would think, okay, you know what? With him being kicked out of the Navy, he'll go back home to Smallville. No, he goes back to Atlantis because, again, he fell in love with that mermaid, Lori. And so when he gets down there to see her, they instantly start kissing one another because they love one another. And it's kind of like, okay, cool. This is weird, but I guess this is how the story is going to go. Clark Kent fell in love with a mermaid. But to make things even crazier, you have Lori tell Clark Kent, listen, if you truly want to gain me, like have me in your life forever, you have to go talk to my father. You have to go through the Atlantis trials. And you have to go up against Poseidon, because Poseidon is the king of Atlantis right now, and you must go through his trials. Now, when Clark Kent meets Poseidon, this is when you have Lori kind of reveal the reason why she brought him down here. it was not just because she was looking for somebody to love, but to also remove Poseidon as king of Atlantis. And what I mean is that right now, Poseidon is king of Atlantis, but also he owns every single person there. And right now, he is trying to make his daughter his new queen, which is weird to me completely. And so right now, you have Lori tell Clark, listen, if you pass these trials, you will not just get my heart, but also you will become king of Atlantis, which is huge for Superman. And so you have Clark just breeze through all these different trials just like that. Bam, 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 they're all done. And when Clark Kent comes back after completing every single trial, he's kind of like, dude, I won. I am now king of Atlantis, and also because I got your girl. I got Lori, your daughter. But that's when Poseidon reveals there is still one more trial. Clark Kent has to fight against the Kraken. Now, when the Kraken appears, we do get a few more pages of Clark Kent fighting against the Kraken. But, of course, Clark Kent is able to defeat the Kraken very easily. But then that's when Poseidon reveals that was just the baby Kraken, that the mother Kraken is the real trial. And so you have the mother Kraken appear to fight against Clark Kent. But just like the baby Kraken, Clark Kent is able to survive the fight between him and the mother Kraken very easily. And so with Clark Kent able to defeat all these trials, automatically he wins. He is now king of Atlantis. Poseidon has to leave now, which means Clark Kent is officially the king of Atlantis. And his queen will be Lori, the mermaid. And the story ends there. And so guys, if I do decide to sit down and read part 3, we will watch what happens in part 3 in our next video. So guys, this is the end of today's video. So please leave me a like down below and also subscribe for more comic book stories in the near future. Also, any suggestions on books I should read, well, let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But guys, I'm out of here and I'll see y'all in the next comic book video. Later, guys.